The Utah Hockey Club picks up a big 5-3 win over the Calgary Flames to get at least one win under their belts on this road trip, and big bounce back game for Lawson Crouse, and a couple other players had some pretty good games as well. We're going to talk about that, plus a franchise first happened tonight in Calgary. All that and more coming your way in just a moment. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm Tom Callahan. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. Flying solo tonight. Robin's got the night off. And want to remind you that this show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let me make sure I got the mic right there. Okay, should be good. All right, so as we head on into looking at tonight's game against the Calgary Flames, big win for Utah Hockey Club tonight. 5-3 was the final, and an effort that they absolutely needed to have, and they came up tonight with a big one. Despite the fact that in the preview, the last show, that's what I'm trying to say, I said, hey, let's fix the second period. Well, the second period's not quite fixed. They were outscored 2-1 in the second period. Better, but not where they needed to be. But what's encouraging about this is that Utah owned the third. And that is the first point I want to underscore here. They owned the third period on the road against Calgary. I really like that. They were the goal scoring in the third period. How we're used to seeing Utah give up those chances, those odd mans, those 2-on-1s. Utah had those tonight. Utah was breaking through. Utah was making the good passes. There were still a couple times they passed off potential shots, but for the most part, they were getting through. They were making that Calgary defense look absolutely porous. And it was a really good effort tonight out of the forwards. Really appreciated their game and just trying to be as straightforward as possible to get pucks there, to get bodies there, make things difficult for Vladar, who, by the way, got the start tonight for the Flames. And Utah comes up with the win. So that's a huge one. Just taking a look at the scoring summary, one of the things you got to love about this, Lawson Crouse had a big night, and that is so important. Crouse is a guy who's kind of been quiet as of late, and you know it bothers him. He understands that he needs to be doing more, wants to be doing more. Well, tonight, pair of goals with a +2 rating and 12-22 of ice. Love it. 3 shots, but also 3 attempts were blocked and 1 missed shot. So he really had 7 attempted shots. Also, 3 hits, second most on the team tonight behind Michael Kesselring and Jack McBain's 4. And boy, I'm loving McBain more and more and more as the season goes on. But you know what? Those 3 hits are big, and that's a big deal. He needs to keep that up because that is the Lawson Crouse you need. You need the physical player who can separate the opposing player from the puck, but then that also generates, especially if he does it in the offensive end, that generates scoring chances, that generates zone time, that generates possession. And that is when Utah shines. And I think for them to be able to do that tonight is just encouraging to see that. And also, it was interesting, Andre Tourigny, his comments today, both before and after the game, talking about this team and saying, in a way, it felt like they had regressed to the things they were doing wrong early in the season in this last little stretch, this 5-game losing skid that they snapped. And I understand where he's coming from with that because you could see it. They were making the mistakes. They were regressing. They were taking the bad penalties. They were doing all those things. Well, they, for the most part, stayed away from that tonight. So to me, that's also encouraging. Shout out to Ole Mata, 2 assists with a +2 rating this evening. I thought that was a good game out of him. And despite the fact that there's been a whatever kind of bug, some sickness running through the locker room, Clayton Keller came back. And not only did the captain come back, but he had a goal and an assist tonight. So I know heading into Dallas, the lineup may be different again. And it's kind of funny because at morning skate this morning, Andre Tourigny didn't know what his lineup was going to be. And I imagine, there might be some guys playing through whatever sniffles this is. But and clearly Keller had to miss a game because of it, but he's back 2 nights later. Some guys still might be getting it. It might, set in for some of these guys between Calgary and Dallas. I don't know what the lineup's gonna be either, but I do know from personal experience, when something goes through the locker room, it goes through the locker room. 1 or 2 guys don't get it, everybody else gets it. I mean, trainers, coaches, broadcasters, everybody gets it. So that's something that, they're gonna have to keep an eye out for. It's a little frustrating, but a big win, a good win tonight in Calgary over the Flames. So very proud of what the team accomplished this evening. And again, just looking over the stats, I thought they did a good job as far as just being smart tonight. And again, dominating that third period. The other thing I liked, there are a couple of times here, a couple of nits I wanted to pick. You give up a goal late in the first, and I hate goals against in the first and last minute of a period. And I love goals for in the first and last minute of a period because they are complete and total momentum changers. Well, Utah gives up a power play goal at the end of the first. Coleman scores with 48 seconds to go. Bummer. But then what I liked is that Utah came out the next period and eventually they held serve. It was tied at 1 at that point. And then they get a power play goal to go up 2-1. Now, unfortunately, a minute and 7 seconds later, Connor Zary comes down and scores. By the way, Zary looked awesome tonight. And I know he's been out of the lineup for a little bit, but man, he had an outstanding game. So I really like Connor Zary for Calgary. Good little player. But again, minute later, that shift after a goal, which has not been good lately for Utah. They give one up, and it's like, oh, it's so frustrating. And you wonder if it's going to be one of those nights. Then they give one up later in the period, and they're trailing going into the third. Well, then what I liked, to turn this on its head, was 37 seconds into the third period, they score. So they come out, they get a goal right away, and it's Clayton Keller. That is where the captain steps up and elects to shine and does, and then boom, right away they're right back in it. It's tied up. Now it's anybody's hockey game. You're not chasing the game through the third period. You're not squeezing the stick, and then Crouse scores just 2 minutes later, actually a buck 58 later, and that's his second of the night. And the thing is some of the goals tonight were puck luck. Some of the goals were hard work, but I think that hard work brings you the puck luck. And that's something I also liked about what Utah did tonight. I thought they generated their opportunities and they earned them, and they were rewarded. So that was a big thing for them as well. And want to talk about some other stats here. Also, we'll get into the goaltending and a franchise first, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about Lawson Crouse. So right now, we're going to grab a break and come back with more here in just a moment on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. All right. And today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown, how many points they're going to score. It's awesome. And I'm wondering how the Bills are going to do this Sunday, because I know Josh Allen wants his game started streak. He's probably going to play the first series, but I don't know if he's going to get the TD there. And the Patriots, quite honestly, the Bills-Patriots matchup might be the most boring game of the year. However, might be a chance to pick up some interesting in-game wagers, depending on the way that one's going. So, keep an eye on that. And that's the thing. You do this in the middle of the game, so you can keep track of how many points each team's going to score, who's going to score, how many touchdowns, so much more. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so as we get back to it here, Tom Callahan here with you, and thanks for joining us, taking a look at this Utah Hockey Club post-game win over the Calgary Flames. And one of the things that I love about tonight was that Lawson Crouse looks like he's back on track. That, again, you break down his numbers, and 12-22 of ice. Now, among the forwards, not the most. Now, honestly, the way things kind of rotated out, I mean, that 12-22 That is less than Barrett Hayton, less than Jack McBain, a little more than Nick Bukestad, less than Kerfoot, less than Gunther, less than Keller, less than Schmaltz. He's not getting that high level of ice time. I almost wonder, though, if it might be a little bit more beneficial to Lawson Crouse playing a little bit fewer minutes. 18 shifts tonight, and most of those were at even strength. He did have 137 on the power play, not killing any penalties. So maybe that's helping him out a little bit. Maybe to have a little bit less time spent. I think that perhaps that might aid him in his quest. And plus, the other thing is, you never know when guys are banged up or bruised or nursing something. But if maybe there might have been something for Krause, and now he might be getting healthy, that would be encouraging. So good to see that. Also, my boy Kevin Stenlund scores again, attaboy. Logan Cooley with a goal. And what I liked about his goal, I liked about Keller's goal, it was getting to that dangerous area down low in the crease, in the blue paint. If you go back and you watch some of the highlights from this game, you're going to see Keller in the slot deflecting a shot pass from the point. Then you're going to see another shot pass that Cooley deflects. Those are the kinds of goals that are almost impossible for a goalie to stop because they think it's a shot. And deflections are tough, but especially when they're planned deflections and they're tips on the back door, it's fantastic to see those things. So really appreciate the fact that Utah Hockey Club was getting those plays. And I'll tell you what, Kerfoot tonight in the third period broke in, had a couple of awesome chances. And then here's where we're going to talk about this franchise first. A penalty shot, the first ever penalty shot awarded in Utah Hockey Club history, goes to Alex Kerfoot. Unfortunately, he didn't score, but at 10:15 of the third period, he was awarded a penalty shot. And it was actually the second time he broke in behind the D. The referee decided that the defenseman, in turning around and trying to scramble to recover, did enough to prevent his scoring chance, and he was in alone. So, and it was twice on that same shift that Kerfoot was in there. So he was frustrated he missed the penalty shot, and I get that. But again, that's the effort we've been looking for all year, and 3 periods of it. I don't think it's too much to ask, although I don't know, that's what you want to see. You know, the 3 periods of effort is a big deal. But again, I love that one. I thought that was great. And now taking a look at the goaltending performance, Karel Vejmelka got the nod tonight in the 60 minutes. Not bad. I mean, both teams had 26 shots on goal, so that's good for Utah defensively. It was 10-10 and 6 for Calgary, and then 6-9-11. So I talk about that third period. The 11-6 shot differential in the third. Utah owned a third period on the road in a difficult barn to own a third period. I love that. So Vejmelka tonight gave up 1 in the first, 2 in the second, none in the third. Of course, only faced the 6 shots, but gave them the saves they needed. And that to me was a solid performance. Not that Vladar was bad. By the way, the 5th goal was an empty netter. So Vladar technically finishes with 25 shots faced, 4 goals against. So 21 of 25 ends up with the loss. But that's what you need your goalie to do. You need him to, once it's time to not give up any more goals. Okay, the Flames got to 3. He did. And scoring that goal to make it 3-3 coming out in the third, the onus is on both goaltenders now. So Veggie answers the bell. I like that. And this is a big win because this is a team that now you've crept within 3 points of in the standings. And depending on how everything shakes out over the next couple of games, you could be going into Dallas with a chance to be knocking on that doorstep of a wild card spot. So, I mean, I know everybody else is playing and there's going to be, some points moving between now and then. But this is where you want to be in early January. Remember the St. Louis Blues several years ago were on January 3rd, they were in last, and won the Stanley Cup that year. You never know how you're going to turn it around. You just don't. Now, I'm not saying that Utah Hockey Club's going to do that, but I'm saying there's a lot of hockey left. And this game here tonight, I think, is the game that can put them in the right direction. So I really like where they're at, and hopefully they're going to be able to keep that going. That's the other thing is, again, the momentum. Dallas is a tough team. The Dallas Stars are one of the tougher outs right now, I think, in the NHL because they are stacked top to bottom, especially if you're facing Jake Ottinger, who is one of the best goalies in the NHL, along with Connor Hellebuck. I think that Dallas Stars team is one of the hardest teams to beat. Even though right now they're a wild card team, but I mean by a sliver. Winnipeg is way out in front, but then you've got the Wild, the Avalanche, and the Stars are all within 5 points of one another. So it's a tough Central Division, as Utah well knows. But Utah is also now team number 5 there, which is where I think they really need to be, and taking advantage of the Predators having a bad year. The Blackhawks are terrible. Take advantage of those things. The St. Louis Blues still don't quite know who they are. They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. Take advantage of that. You could say Utah Hockey Club doesn't know who they are, and other teams could take advantage of it. But if they could figure it out, if they can really not only forge but live up to that team identity, which is something we've been talking about for a while now, that's going to be the most important thing for these guys to pull off. So hopefully they're able to do that and get it all together here in the next little bit. So, all right, we're going to take our final break here. We're going to come back, talk a little bit more about what's coming up for the Utah Hockey Club, and we will wrap things up here in this. Well, I guess by the time you're hearing it, it's Friday morning, and heading into the weekend here, Utah Hockey Club. They've got Dallas coming up on Saturday night. Why don't we take a little bit of a look at Dallas? I think that would be appropriate. So, all right, we'll do that in just a moment. And today's show is brought to you in part by, see, this is what happens when Tom has to do all this stuff by himself. Sorry, Rocket Money. When Tom does all this stuff by himself and he's not used to doing it, a little peek behind the curtain for you. Robin normally does all of this on the graphical side. So when I have to do it, it gets interesting real fast. You know what? Rocket Money can help you find subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice, which is the worst thing. But that has happened to me. Not my proudest moment, but yes, sometimes you just kind of get lost in the shuffle. You end up with a different login, a different credit card payment. You put a different card on something and you don't track it. And I think most of us don't pay enough attention to our finances anyway. But Rocket Money makes it easy to track them down. It's kind of like having a personal assistant for your finances. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. And hey, January 1's a good time to revisit those financial goals. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. That's wild. Saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So again, I told you about the subscription tracker. It worked for me. It helped me save some money and to figure out some other things. But I'm more excited right now, looking forward about the goals feature. And this helps you to just budget and set aside the money, which it really, your money just falls out of places when you don't really pay attention to your spending and you don't see where every dollar is going and what it's doing for you. This helps. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Once again, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Okay, as we come back here to wrap things up in the final segment of the show, trivia question. What happened in the Calgary game that was a franchise first? That's right, Alex Kerfoot. Penalty shot. First ever penalty shot awarded for the Utah Hockey Club. Pretty cool moment in that game. I want to talk about the Dallas Stars a little bit. And Dallas is a team that has, I think, Stanley Cup potential. Dallas is deep. I already mentioned Jake Ottinger, one of the best goalies in the league. And I don't think it's close, quite honestly. And I know some people might argue with me on that point, saying that I think Ottinger is one of probably the, let's say, 3, 4, maybe 5 elite goalies. And it's tough when those elite goalies are in the Central Division. So you've got Connor Hellebuck, you've got Jake Ottinger. UC Saros can be. I don't think Saros is as consistent, but I think one of the things that's got to be frustrating is the fact that, unfortunately, Um, the Preds are just bad this year. They really are, and there's no way to hide it. They're just bad. So you look at Dallas. This is a team that they've got 23 wins, at least as of the recording of this podcast. 21 of those are in regulation, so they don't go past regulation very much. You've got to beat them early, and they've only gone to a shootout and had to win it there once. So they are taking care of business in regulation. They've got a nice 635 win percentage. They're averaging over 3 goals a game. They're only giving up 2.5. So that's the other thing. And when you look at across the league, that's second. Winnipeg 2.50, Connor Hellebuck. Dallas 2.51, Jake Ottinger. So there you go. By the way, 2.54 New Jersey and LA. I don't think I would have pegged either one of those teams to be tied for third in goals against average in the league. But there they are. So just some thought when it comes to that. Dallas is also one of the best 5-on-5 teams out there. So obviously you want to keep yourself out of the penalty box as much as possible against them. Yes, but also 5-on-5, you have to understand that this is a team that can hurt you. They have a lot of weapons. They're deep. That's what's the thing about Dallas is they're just deep. They can throw 3, maybe even 4 if they want to lines at you in a given night. They can just come for you. And their power play is nothing special, honestly. 15.5%. It's all the way down towards the bottom. It's 28th. It's not great. The special team now, the penalty kill is second in the league. So it's harder. But Utah's power play has come up. I think Utah's power play has been a lot better lately. It is much improved. I'm liking the puck movement. They're still sitting mid-pack in the league, but just the way it looks lately, the moves they're making, the guys getting open kind of for those little sidelong chances and everything, the movements they're making up top within the umbrella, moving the bumper around so they open up those passing lanes, little things they're doing that have greatly improved how that power play is effective. But again, I mean, the PK for Dallas is exceptional, so that's going to be a pretty good special teams battle right there. It's going to come down to volume, and Utah Hockey Club has not been a team of volume of shots. They've not been a team of volume of really much of anything this year. So that's what they're going to have to guard against. And the other thing is Dallas is strong in all 60 minutes. They're strong in all 3 zones. Plus they're playing at home. Now I understand. Well, even on a Saturday night, it's going to be busy there. This is a Stars team that is just so tough to beat. They're well coached. They're disciplined. And I like Dallas a lot. I really do. I think they're a pretty stout hockey team. So that's going to be a big challenge for these guys heading in there, but one that I think we can look forward to. And here's the other thing. Again, Dallas, even though I say all these glowing things about how good I think they are, they're still only sitting in the wild card as of the conclusion of this as we head into this Friday morning show. They're still sitting in the wild card. So they are within spitting distance. And I think that, again, if Utah wants to run with the big dogs, they're going to have to occasionally trip some of them up and come out with some wins, even on the road. If they play like they played in Calgary, I really like the game, especially the third period. I'd like to see more third periods. Just put that on repeat, and you're going to win a lot of hockey games. So, all right, well, that's what I've got for you for this edition of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks for listening and making us your first listen every single day. If you haven't already, please click subscribe. If you've made it all the way to the end, I'm amazed that you're not a subscriber. Click the bell if you're on YouTube so you're notified when we do drop a new show. And you will get that right away. And we invite you to join us. We typically drop these at 6 a.m., I guess, Arizona time. It's set for Arizona time, which I don't know if you know this or not, but Arizona does not change its clocks. So spring ahead, fall back does not apply to them. So right now it's a 2-hour time difference from Eastern time, and they're an hour ahead of Pacific. So if that helps you figure things out, they're on Mountain right now. But then when everything shifts, they will end up on Pacific time because Arizona doesn't move. So, which, by the way, when I lived there, I didn't mind that at all. I kind of liked it. But, whatever. I don't know why we still have daylight savings time. Anyway, before I go off on that rant, thanks for joining us, everybody. We appreciate you being here. You can follow us along. We are everywhere you get your social media, Facebook. We're on Twitter. I'm personally on Blue Sky more than I'm on Twitter by far now, at Callahan on air on Twitter. But if you want to get me, really reach me on Blue Sky. We're over there. I am at Tom Talks. So Absolutely love to hear from you. If you have questions, thoughts, anything you want to share about this Utah Hockey Club. And Robin and I will be back with you next week as well with our next episode. So thanks for tuning us in, everybody. And this has been another exciting edition of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.